Hi, salam alaikum. Hi, Oracle Reiki Spiritual Healer. And I was going to make me some homemade French fries and some fried chicken today. And I'm trying to consider if that's what I want or not. I'm going to use olive oil or another. I used to use Crisco, but I found out that Crisco that my mother and my parents were using is not good for you. So as I continue on this healing journey, that is what I'm going to talk to you about today. Again, you'll hear me say over time, you have to let things go that you learned from your parents or from the elders, things that no longer serve you, things that's not good for you. So over the course of 20 years, I have not eaten pork. And to find out that they have been putting things in our food that we don't want to eat, that's just like someone trying to trick you into eating, pork, or, they put pork in the collard greens or pork in the spinach, and they trying to give it to you, and then they'll say something like, oh, you used to eat this and all of this right here. And that is an attitude of a person that doesn't want to change. And they are used to being the way that they are. And since they don't want to change, they don't want you to change either. That is also a characteristic of a person that has integrated with the entity, with the system. When they don't want to change and they don't want you to change, they're harming themselves. They want to continue eating the ham hocks and the pork and the things that was available to them at that time. And they want to continue to feeding you the same. The pork ribs, the ham sandwiches, the Crisco. So this is very important that when you start to walk in your position as a chosen one, it's very important that you stop eating what you were eating in the past. You stop doing the things like your parents was giving you. You stop doing the things that they were giving you to put in your system. You start doing better. You start eating the asparagus. You start eating the broccoli. You start eating the squash. You start eating the chicken and rice casserole. You stop eating out and start eating all the foods that you make. The foods that are healthy for you, foods that you know that you can consume and you know what's in it. So it's the same thing what goes onto our bodies. You stop perming your hair. You've heard me talk about that. You stop wearing makeup. Anything that the enemy, the entity, has given you, you need to refrain from it, because your enemy, the entity doesn't mean you any well. They don't mean you good. They're trying to harm you. They're trying to take as many people out of the system, off of this earth as they can, especially the chosen ones. You need to understand that whatever the entity is giving you, that they are narcissistic. They're narcissists. They're demonic. And nothing that they give you, they're going to tell you the truth of what's in it, what they packaged in it. They're not going to tell you that, the makeup, the foundation that you're putting on your body, sometimes the baby powder that you're putting on your bodies, it is causing the cancer and the tumors in your body. So you have to make a decision whether you want to keep up with the appearance that you had of the past. You want to keep up with the appearance of the entity and let it absolutely take your health away. We need to decide if some of the things that our parents was giving us, some of the things that we learned, whether it's good or bad, we need to be able to take a look at that. I understand that everything that our parents, everything that we learned at home was not bad. So if you were learning, how to be an auto mechanic, that's not bad. You want to take that with you. But by the same token, if you learn how to be an auto mechanic that, has everything scattered all around, untidy, you don't wear gloves, you got grease everywhere, untidy, then you want to unlearn that part and learn how to, keep up with things, you put things in order and be clean. You don't want to have grease everywhere, touch everything with grease everywhere. So it's the same thing as I break it down, if you're a young lady and you learn how to cook the food by putting some pork pieces or some bacon pieces or some bacon grease in your vegetables for your family, you will have to unlearn that. You will have to unlearn so that your family can be healthy, so that you can be healthy and you don't get the diabetes or the diseases that comes with eating unhealthy foods. So, one of the favorite movies that I like to equate that to, which was, to me, was a very toxic movie, was the movie Soul Food. That you're putting all these things in your body, and just because, grandma made it or mama made it, we got to sit down and eat the macaroni and cheese and the fried chicken and the fried pork chops and the biscuits made with, animal fat, pork fat. So if we're not checking to see what we're putting in our bodies, then we're eating exactly what we are trying to get away from, what we're trying to separate ourselves from the bad food, from the bad habits of eating certain foods. Some of us need to make sure that we are looking at what our parents put in our food, how they made our food. It wasn't always a good thing. We need to look at our behaviors. That is not always a good thing to take certain things from our parents and the past and apply it to our lives and our families now. We must be able to differentiate between what is good for us, what God said that we could have, and what is bad for us. And the only way that you can do that is to understand that the book says we are to refrain from certain behaviors, swine, when we eat. We are to refrain from taking those bad habits and applying it to our family and our children and teaching them something that we know is going to harm them in the long term. It has harmed us, has harmed our mothers and fathers, our uncles and aunts. We have a lot of uncles and aunts that have diabetes, and it comes from what they were putting in their system, the way that they learned how to cook, the things that they didn't want to refrain from. So you got generation after generation eating cakes, ham hocks and pork, and baking things, and we could choose a better source of sugar. At this point, I don't even eat sugar, Dixie Crystal anymore. I get my sugar from a natural source, honey, I can do maple syrup, anything like that, because we have to be careful of this processed food that our enemy is giving us. And we've seen the devastation that it has caused in our family. And we have to be able to say enough is enough. I'm not going out like that. We have to be able to say, and look at the damage that it's doing with our kids. The kids are very obese. They're so heavy. They're 5 and 6 and 8 years old, very young, heavy, because of those hormones and the GMOs and the food that we're feeding them, because of what we have been taught was something unhealthy. And we have to unlearn that. We have to unlearn that behavior and cook something, implementing more vegetables, different kinds of fats, olive oil. We're going to let go of that Crisco now. We have to make sure that we are teaching ourselves, and it goes on into the next generation, what is good for us and what we are going to refrain from. We have to take that away from ourselves. We have to take it away from our culture. Because again, I'm going to tell you the truth. There's nothing that your enemy is giving you that is good for you. It is meant for your downfall. It is meant for your downfall in the food. It's meant for your downfall for the next generation. So now that I'm on this, seeing what monoglycerides are in my food, and seeing what they're putting in my food, I feel much better. I feel much better. I can no longer have certain breads, and I feel depressed about, I can't have those foods anymore, because they are associated with my past. They're associated with what my parents used to give me. The peanut butter and jelly sandwich on this, the grilled cheese sandwich on this type of bread. And I certainly can't have it anymore, because they're making that kind of bread with monoglycerides in it, or monodiglycerides in it, which has pork in it. So I have to, really check the labels. It takes me a long time in the store. I have to get vegetables. I have to make my own foods. I have to make my own French fries. I have to make everything that I want to eat from scratch on my own. And I'm used to doing that anyway, because of how I was reared up and how I was raised in the South. But by the same token, those certain kinds of products that my mother used, again, the colonial bread, the Sara Lee, and all of these kinds of different things that I can no longer have, because they're putting an additive in there that they are not going to tell you that it's a pork additive, or if it's not a pork additive. So I'm being very careful to look back at the past and say, I'm depressed because I can't have this. But now I can do something different and make something new for me, something better, something that's wholesome, and offer something, a different product, a better product than I was in the past. In the candy lady and the haberdashery, I can offer something better to people that is wholesome, and I know that it's not going to cause health problems or health defects in the long run. If I make it myself, if I let go of certain products And we have to have that mindset. In a lot of things, as a chosen one, you're going to have to be able to let go. And this is, I can't say it enough. I'm having to go through it too. I'm having to learn this all over again, that certain things is just not good for me. And like I said before in one of my previous posts, the old websites for the haberdashery wasn't good for this account. So I had to let it go. It's the same thing that you will apply as a chosen one, to be able to let go of things that might taste good, but every time you eat it, your blood pressure goes sky high. And that goes for, chips and things like that. Things that we should be refraining from, or we should be learning how to cook it ourselves to make a better version of it. And when you think about that, it's too much time consuming. You don't have time. Okay, you won't have time when you're dead either. So those are some of the corrections that we need to make. We need to make this correction right now, because when you come off of these bad products that has been put out there for not only your downfall, but it was for your parents' downfall, and it's for your children's downfall, your body starts to crave that kind of food. And I've said it before, the children of Israel, when Moses brought them out of Egypt, and they were looking for food, they wanted some food, and God sent them down manna and quail. They were willing to go back to the old food that the Egyptians had given them, because they missed that taste. They missed the food of the Egyptians, and they wanted that. Your body will definitely crave something that your enemy has given to you, and set you up for destruction. The children of Israel were willing to go back and get and be with the Egyptians, to go back in servitude, to have a certain kind of taste and food. And Moses told them, you can go down to any market and buy whatever you need. If you want some food, you can go to any market and buy it. You can make that kind of food. But would you go back into slavery because you want some food? So I'm saying the same thing to you right now. Your taste buds, your stomach, your cravings is craving for foods that your enemy has designed for your downfall. Will you keep eating that stuff? Will you keep eating and giving it to your children? And you're creating in them a downfall in the long run. You're creating health effects for them in the long run. You're creating issues and problems for them in the long run. Diabetes, high blood pressure, and a whole slew of other diseases, skin problems. So now that I'm not eating those type of foods anymore, now that I've, been looking at labels, now that I have decided that everything that my parents gave me was not good for me, and they didn't have a choice. They didn't, understand or know any better. But we have a choice to say we're going to reject a lot of the things, most of the things, except, and it's going to come down to clothes and things of that nature too. We're going to reject the things that the entity, the Shaitan, has given to us, and it was set up for our downfall. So if you agree with me, please drop some comments in our comment section, and you can reach out to me. You can always hit me now on our website and reach out to me. Let me know your thoughts. What are some of the things that you have had to let go out of your diet that you were eating from your parents had given to you? Let me know some of the things, the health benefits that you experience after you stop eating those things from your parents. So I hope that this helps you. I'm High Oracle, Reiki spiritual healer. Assalamu alaikum.